Two. There we go. Hi. Okay. Hi, everybody. Hi, Carol.
Hi.
Um, Thank you for agreeing to talking about your artwork on Art Around the City, and congratulations for being one of the 50 artists. I have a few questions for you. What was the inspiration for your artwork on Art Around the City Trail?
Of course, it's Putz's Hardware that was on Salzburg and Winona in Bay City. It was there from 1916, I believe, to 2019, and started by I believe John W. Putz, and went through 3 generations of the Putz family as owners, which to me that was just quite amazing. The length of the family's dedication to the business and the community at large. 103 years, that's very inspiring to stay at anything that long. So I found that very interesting. It's a historic landmark of the area, and of course an anchor for that side of town for many years. It survived the Great Depression, the recession, and of course big box hardware stores coming into the area. I drove past it for several years and thought that building has a story to tell. And I was very intrigued with the marquee and the 1950s, 60s storefront that they kept intact. The window display and the signage were just wonderful and kind of suspended in time. And I'm fascinated by images that show passage of time. It was a place you went for hardware and lawnmower blade sharpening and washboards and canning jars and all kinds of hard to find items were found at Putz's. So I knew I had to stop and take pictures one day, and I kept putting it off because the light wasn't right or something. And finally I stopped one day, but it was it's a very busy corner there with the light. And I only got a few good reference photos. And I thought, well, I'll stop again, and then a month later, 2 months later, I noticed in the paper that it was closed. And so I really valued those few good reference photos that I did get that day, and went through them and thought, I need to paint this. I need to study it and preserve that image in my mind of what it looked like. I did decide to marry an International Harvester truck from the 1950s into the scene as kind of a nod to the historic element of the piece, and kind of a nod to the local farmers that must have used Putz's so very often back in the day. So I'm really glad I was able to get those reference photos and paint Putz's. It was an honor for me.
Oh, it's great. Oh, it's a wonderful story. Wonderful. Now, describe a day in your studio.
Well, for me, because I have a home studio, I paint in. I took control of our formal dining room that we really weren't using at the time, and kind of took that away from the family. And it's very hard when you have a home studio to carve out time to paint. So I have to actually set it in my calendar, studio time, that then I have the discipline to go and use, because chores and phone calls, and when I was raising my children and friends, and all of those distractions pull you away when you have a home studio. So for me, it works best to set it in my calendar and just stick by, 1 to 5, mom's painting, don't bother her, and that works best for me.
Great.
I also begin and end my painting sessions with working in my sketchbook, a little bit of making notes, where I am in a piece, what I want to accomplish next time, what I still need to work on or revise. And then when I go back the next day, I have something to get me started. Oh yes, I was going to work on this. And it is nothing formal. It's just a few notes jotted down, but it just helps me get over that hump of getting in there and getting started, to remember what I was working on and what I wanted to change, for the next day. And so yeah, my studio has north light, and which is of course a wonderful light to work in for an artist. It's just a lovely space to create. It's very small. So someday I'd like a larger space, but for now it works just great. So yeah, that's where I create, and I focus on one piece at a time typically, because I just feel like I need to really focus on the message that I'm trying to get across to my viewers. And when I've tried to work on more than one painting at once, sometimes that gets a little bit muddled for me. So I usually have one going strong. I might start one, but I don't work earnestly on it. I usually try to finish the first one in completion before I start another one. And then I set it aside for a bit before I actually sign it. I set it aside for 3 weeks and kind of just let it digest and critique it. I might even put it out to my critique group that I'm in, and show a few artist friends and see if there's anything that I'm just not seeing before I call it finished. So.
Oh, that's such good information for seasoned artists and for artists that are starting out. I like the idea of jotting down the notes that you talked about before you leave your studio that night. Yeah, very interesting. Now, why do you work in your chosen medium?
I work almost exclusively now in acrylic. Years ago, I did many graphite drawings, but now in my life, I really need that color. I need that rich color. I also like to work in acrylic because it's very forgiving. Its quick drying properties allow for quick revision, or if I just change my mind, I can go a different direction and not have to wait, several days to a few weeks as you would with oil. And with watercolor, then you may have to start over if you want to revise it too much. So for me, acrylic works the best because of its forgiving qualities. I also love all of the mediums that they have out there, and all of the things mixed with the mediums, the sand and the glass beads, and the texture that I can add to my paint to give it a good texture, and brush mark, which to me it adds emotion to a piece. And so, I think acrylics come a long way since the 70s, and it really has a lot of really neat stuff to use to mimic oil or mimic watercolor or anything you would like to do. It's just, the opportunities are huge with acrylic, I believe. Comes in a large assortment of colors, which I like, and works well for my large works. I like to work large. And that works, acrylic works very well with that, because the painting that's going to be in the gallery in the fall is 48 by 30. So, that it worked fabulous on that. So I just love acrylic. I can't say enough good things about it.
Oh, that is great. Well, Carol, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge with us. And everybody go out and see her work on Art Around the City Trail. And also in the fall, in September, we'll be having the 50 Artists exhibition. And again, congratulations for being in the exhibit.
Thank you so much, Val.
Thank you.